How you doing today?
Good, how you doing?
Good. One minute.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we are ready. First and foremost, welcome to Pleasure Lanes. I'm glad to see you guys are all here today. Just a reminder that COVID rules are in effect. Masks must be worn, covering your mouth and nose the entire time unless you're seated with food or drink. All right. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn the lanes on for practice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that did not see, we're at the 5-minute mark. Please switch lanes.
Back here. Oh, okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, practice has ended. Please make sure that your machines are set to the first fall. And if we could have the student athletes approach the foul line for the playing of our national anthem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have fun and score well.
No, I looked at it and then
Brockport on three! Brockport on three! 1, 2, 3, Brockport!
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Oh, no, I told him, I said, this technology is way beyond my realm of knowledge, so I still work off Excel, if that helps.
We good, Steve?
You got your Chuck Taylors on, though. That's good.
Oh, that was it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pleasure Lanes of Hilton, New York, for today's Section 5 bowling matches between the Blue Devils of Brockport and the hosts, Hilton Cadets. It's a beautiful Wednesday here in Hilton, New York, and we're inside watching this exciting bowling as it just got underway in the first frame for both the girls and boys varsity teams. My name is Steve Sorensen. I'll be bringing the action to you as best I can, try to give you an idea of what's going on here. Because of COVID restrictions, I want to give you an update on what it looks like inside here. We're going to be using lanes 9 through 16 here at Pleasure Lanes. The girls are on 9, 10, 11, and 12. The boys are on 13, 14, 15, and 16. There's 6 bowlers to every set of 2 lanes. The girls to our left, the boys to our right. we'll get them a chance to get going here. I want to give you the starting lineups for Hilton. On the girls' side, we have sophomores Emily Chapman and Emily Richards bowling alongside senior Elena Carr over on lane 9 and 10. Also for Hilton, on lanes 11 and 12 will be Isabella Ferraro, Bella Ferraro, Jennifer Reeser, and Taylor Lucas. For the girls of Brockport, on lanes 9 and 10, Olivia Health, Indigo Pardon, and Kaylee Stevens. On lanes 11 and 12 for Brockport girls, Ariana Guerrero, Linda Monticelli, and Deanna Ikes. On the boys' side, and let's stick with Brockport, on lanes 13 and 14, Tyler Kluth, Jaden DeWild, and Caleb Stevens. On lanes 15 and 16 for Brockport will be Trevor Parker, Jacob Cole, Nicholas Padaleski. Hilton's boys bowlers on lanes 13 and 14, Mason Williams, Brennan Stevenson, Jacob Morrill, and we will probably see Anthony Getty come in at some point and bowling on lanes 13 and 14 later on in the matches. On lanes 15 and 16 for Hilton, bowling together will be Matthew Carmestro, along with Kenny Haslip and Tommy Parsons. This is our second broadcast of the season, so hopefully we'll get a better grasp on it, on how to adequately send this broadcast out to you. We'll focus on 2 lanes at a time and move around a little bit. If something exciting's happened on any group of bowlers, we'll stay close to home, but we want to make sure that all bowlers are at least getting an opportunity to be focused on. So as we start this broadcast, we're going to head on down to lanes 9 and 10, where we have Hilton bowlers Emily Chapman and Emily Richards, Elena Carr, along with Olivia Health, Indigo Pardon, and Kaylee Stevens from Brockport. Emily Chapman just threw her second ball in the second frame. She's coming off a 9 spare in the first and just got another 9, leaving a solid 10. For Brockport, it's Indigo Pardon on her first ball of the second frame. She's off a 7 and a spare, and she gets 9 out of 10. Chapman getting that tough pin, that 10 pin, like it's no big deal to her. She's got 2 spares to start off her scores. Indigo Pardon for Brockport. Try to pick up her spare to start her match out with 2 marks in a row, both spares, and she gets it. Emily Richards, first ball in the second. She got the pocket and she got the strike. For Brockport, coming up in her first ball in the second frame, we have Kaylee Stevens. She's coming off a 6 with a spare, a lefty. Comes back a little cross, a little bit high, and she's, the 7 wobbled but stayed up. She's got a 6-7-10 split. Elena Carr with her first ball in the second frame. Had a strike in the first, and she gets a second. Nice way to start out the matches for Elena Carr. 2 strikes in a row. Kaylee Stevens to try to pick up a very tough split. She'll get the 2. She got the 6-10. Has an open, leaving the 7 pin. Olivia Health on her first ball. It did kick out it looks like she did kick out the 7, leaving 9. Emily Chapman, her third frame start, and she's got 3 marks in a row. A strike in the third. Olivia Health trying to pick up the spare. Gave it a run. She picked up 8 of the pins that were there, leaving an open frame, about a total of 9 in the third. Got a chance to see all the bowlers in the first in lanes 9 and 10. Let's go take a look over at lanes 11 and 12. All right, lane 11 and 12. We have Hilton bowler Jen Reeser with a strike. Nice way. She's coming off a spare in the first. She had a split open in the second, and now a strike. Brockport's Linda Monticelli on her first ball in the third with a split. Oh, came in a little bit high, but Taylor Lucas with 3 strikes in a row to start out her game. Nice little turkey going on right there. That's right, we're using bowling vernacular. Linda Monticelli gets the field goal, splits the strike in half. Back over to lane 10, Elena Carr going for her 3rd strike in a row to start out this game. Hits it a little high, and she got 8 out of the 10. Deanna Ikes from Brockport, and her first ball in the 3rd frame got 8. She's coming off of 2 open frames. She's at 18 in the 2nd frame, and with an 8 in the 3rd. Brockport's Ariana Guerrero gets a strike there in the top of the 4th. Her first ball of the 4th. Deanna Ikes just misses the spare. She ends up with a 9 open frame. Brockport's Linda Monticelli throwing her first ball in the 4th. Looks like she's got the pocket and she's got the strike. Bella Ferrero with 9. Bella Ferrero has started out her matches with 3 strikes in a row and just got a 9. So we have a great start for Hilton today. Elena Carr on lanes 9 and 10 with 2 strikes in a row and a spare in the 3rd. Bella Ferrero with 3 strikes in a row. Unfortunately, a 9 just now, but still a great start. She'll pick up this for a spare and get 4 marks in a row. Never count it before you hatch. Let Bella get her first. She seems confident, and she should be. Deanna Ikes on her 2nd ball. In the 4th, she got a 6 in the 1st and missed everything on the 2nd ball. She'll end up with a 33 in the 4th frame. Jen Reeser up in the 4th, her first ball. Probably got it out there just a little bit farther out wide than she wanted. She got 6. Jen again has an 8 spare, a spare in the 1st, a split with an open in the 2nd, a strike, and now a 6 in the 4th. She's coming off a strike, but she had in the 3rd, but she has a 27 in the 2nd frame. Reeser for her 2nd ball, looking for the spare. And just chops it off. She's got a 7 in the 4th, a 51 overall through 4. Taylor Bella with a strike. And the 5th. Bella just a little bit ahead of Taylor Lucas. Taylor Lucas still has to throw in the 4th. She's coming off 3 strikes in a row, looking for 4. Didn't come back far enough, and unfortunately, she's got herself a split. We'll go one more throw for Taylor Lucas, and we'll slide over to the boys in the 13 and 14 lanes. 3 strikes in a row, and Taylor Lucas ends up with a split with an open. She's got 85 through 4. Heading over to lanes 13 and 14, we got Brockport's Tyler Kluth, Jaden DeWild, and Caleb Stevens bowling. And for Hilton, it's Mason Williams, Brendan Stevenson, and Jacob Morrell. Brendan Stevenson just threw in the 5th. His first ball got a 9. Jaden DeWile throwing his second ball in the 5th, and he picks up the spare. Jaden DeWile threw 5, coming off the spare. He had a 53 in the 4th. He's got 2 opens and 3 spares. First ball for Caleb Stevens in the 5th. Solid pocket with a strike. For Hilton, picking up the spare is Brendan Stevenson. For Brockport, Caleb Stevens has 4 strikes in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th, with a 9 spare in the 3rd. He's off to a great start to these matches. Jacob Morrell throwing for Hilton. And he gets a strike. Great start for Jacob Morrell. He's got 5 in a row. Something to keep an eye on. Mason Williams for Hilton, up in the 14th, lane 14. Nice form. Comes in a little high, leaving the 6-10. He got 8. That's his first ball in the 6th. He's got an 86 in the 5th. 1 open, 1 strike, the rest spares. Tyler Kluth from Brockport threw his first ball. Looks like he got a 5. Mason Williams picking up that 6-10, got it, and he's got himself a spare. Mason Williams has 86 in the 5th, and again, as I said before, now he's got 4 spares, 1 strike, and 1 open. Kluth from Brockport, his second ball. Nice pickup, he got the spare. First ball for Brendan Stevenson in the 6th. He picked up 6. It's a little funky, but it's definitely, he can pick up this next one. DeWild, 2-handed delivery. Stevenson got 8 or end up with 9 in that 6th frame. Jaden DeWild with 72 in the 5th. Trying to pick up the spare, got it. In the 6th. Up for Hilton is Jacob Morrell. He's coming off of 5 in a row. Call that 6 in a row. And we probably won't be traveling far, just watching Jacob Morrell put on a clinic here today. Caleb Stevens from Brockport, first ball in the 6th. And he's picked up his 5th strike of the match, 1 spare. That's 3 in a row though for him. He's having a solid match too. Caleb Stevens and Jacob Morrell put on a show here on lanes 13 and 14 right now. Mason Williams, first ball in the 7th, coming off a spare. Hit a little high and ends up with a split. He's got himself a 7-9 split. Tough one to get. Tyler Kluth back up for Brockport. In the 7th, throws a straight ball, throws it very hard. He ends up with 9. He'll have an 83 in the 6th. And Mason Williams picked up 1 of the 2 with an open in the 6th. Mason Williams now has a 113 through 7. Brendan Stevenson back up for Hilton. Crossed over just a little bit for 8 pins on his first ball in the 7th. Kluth up for Brockport. He'll be looking to get the spare. I want to get over to lanes 15 and 16. It's just we have 2 bowlers here on 13 and 14. Put on a show. Kluth to pick up the spare. Throws it hard. He's got the spare. Just don't want to leave. Just don't want to leave Jacob Morrell, who's off of 6 strikes in a row at this point. Or Caleb Stevens, who's got 5 out of 6 strikes with a 9 spare. Not knowing his game, I can't tell you what Brendan Stevenson's going through. He's pulling everything just a little bit left. He's either overcooking it or just missing his mark. Okay, here, folks. Jacob Morrell back up in the 7th. Coming off of 6 in a row. He looks good. It's going to hit the pocket. Call it 7 in a row, folks. Dude, he's got a little bounce to his step. He looks pretty happy. There's no nerves in that kid. Brendan DeWild got himself a split, throwing it hard with a 2-handed delivery. He picks up 1, and he's got an open. We're going to head over 15 and 16, but we want to see the first ball, though, of Caleb Stevens, because he's having a solid game himself. 5 strikes, coming off of 3 in a row. All marks through 6. Caleb Stevens, first ball in the 7th. Looks good. Hits the pocket. Oh, solid 10. Looks like he got robbed there. On lane 16, Jacob Cole going up for his first ball in the 9th. A lefty. Missed the head pin, gets 7. He's got a 146 through 8. Throwing for Hilton now is Matthew Carmestro with a strike in his first ball in his 9th frame. Back on lane 16. Nope, lane 15. Kenny Haslip coming up. First ball in the 9th for him. What a very high back screen. He crossed over. He Brooklyned it, but it counts for a strike nonetheless. He's got 2 strikes in a row. Nice spare by Jacob Cole there in the 9th. Tommy Parsons up for Hilton. His first ball. And it's a strike for Parsons. And that's 3 in a row for Tommy Parsons. He's got 2, 4, 6, 7 strikes through 9, 2 spares. He's putting on a show himself. Nicholas Podlaski picked up his spare. He had a 9 on the first ball, leaving a 10. For Brockport in the 10th, Trevor Parker throws his first ball. He gets an 8. We're keeping an eye on lanes 13 and 14. have Jacob Morrill, who's about to come up on lane 14. He's coming off of 7 strikes in a row. Seven strikes in a row, Jacob Morrill in lane 14. Looks a little left. He crossed over, but he got it. And I think he knows he got away with one there. Deep breath by Jacob Morrill on that one. But hey, you know what? 8 in a row is 8 in a row. No one's taking to take it from him. Going to head back over to lanes 15 and 16. Look at our bowlers over here. Matthew Carmestro in his first ball in the 10th. He did get a strike. He's at a 155 in the 8th with the strike in the 9th and the 10th. Matthew Carmestro, his second ball in the 10th. That's 3 in a row for Matthew Carmestro. He's got one more ball in the 10th. 185 in the 9th now. He could possibly be looking at a 215 game. Brockport's Jacob Cole in his 10th. First ball. So, boy, he looked like it was a great ball. Solid in the pocket, but left the 7. Matthew Carmestro to finish out his first game in the 10th. Oh, that's 7. That's a 212 from Matthew Carmestro. Oh, Jacob Morrill, first ball in the 9th, gets a 9, leaves a 7. That was 8 strikes in a row. Great run by Jacob Morrill. Finished strong now. Brockport's Caleb Stevens with his first ball in the 9th. Again, having a solid game himself, too. Crossover a little bit. Oh, did he get the kicker? No, he's got 9. He'll be looking to pick up a spare and keep the string of marks going. And Jacob Morrill picks up the spare. Through 9 frames, Jacob Morrill, through 8 strikes and 1 9 spare. He's got a 229 in the 8th. I believe Jacob Morrill could end up with a 289 if he were to strike out. $279, my bad. $279 for Jacob Morrill if he strikes out. Hilton bowlers are. The Brockport bowlers are done on lane 15 and 16. Hilton bowlers are just finishing up. Matthew Carmestro with a 212. Kenny Haslip with a nice game himself, 226. On lane 14. Hilton's Mason Williams picking up a spare. He left a 7, and he got it. 153 in the 9th for Mason, and he's got a 9 spare. He could end up with a 173 if he strikes on his final ball. Hilton's Tommy Parsons having a solid game. He just, unfortunately, though, got a 7 split in the 10th. He was coming off of 3 strikes in a row. He picked up one of those pins, and he'll end up with a 231. Hilton bowlers put on a show on lanes 15 and 16. With a 212, 226, and 231. And we'll just stay right here with lane 13. DeWild, his first ball, two-handed delivery, lefty. Oh. Did we hear the buzzer? I think we just heard the buzzer. And he had a strike on that one. Brendan Stevenson for Hilton off a strike on his first ball in the 10th. Second ball, hit square on top of the head pin with 6 pins. Dwell lost a chance at 3 in a row with that fault. A little mustard on that ball right there to finish out. He ends up with a 159. Stevenson with his final ball of the first game. He picks it up. Nice ball. But with a 168 in his first game of the day. Brockport's Caleb Stevens with a great game going on right now. First ball in the 10th. Strike to start. He has got a 188 in the 8th. Now a 208 in the 9th with a possible 238 game to finish out. And we got the man, Jacob Morrill. First ball in the 10th is another strike. Folks, he's got in 10 frames, and he still has 2 more balls to go. He's got himself 9 strikes in 10 balls. They have a very high game. A possible 279 for Jacob Morrill if he were to get 2 in a row. Caleb Stevens trying to keep pace. An excellent game for himself, too. Second ball in the 10th. Caught a little thin, but got the strike. Nice job. Caleb Stevens with a possible 238. Jacob Morrill, second ball in the 10th. Oh no, it didn't work, come off his hand right. Oh, and he ends up with an 8. He's got himself the Soldiers over there on the left side. Nice game though. 249 in the 9th. And Caleb Stevens getting 9 on his final throw with a 237. Nice game by Caleb Stevens. Jacob Morrill to finish out his game. Can he pick up that spare? No. Didn't finish that strong, but still ended up with a solid 267. Nice game. Finish up the girls. Let's watch a little bit over here in lanes 11 and 12. Taylor Lucas finishing up in the 10th. She's got now 3 strikes in a row, 2 in the 10th. She's got a 199 in the 9th frame alone with a possible 229. Thank you.
Anthony Getty is going in for Brendan Stevenson. For Stevenson.
Okay, thank you. So we finished up on lane 9 and 10. Some solid games over here. Just a little bit of highlight. I know we've wandered away from this end of the lanes, but Elena Carr with a 231. Nice game by Elena Carr.
Just double check with their coach.
And we're about to start the second games. The second games on all three lanes. The scores as they stand after the first game. On lanes 9 and 10 from Brockport, Olivia Health with an 89, Indigo Pardon 116, Kaylee Stevens with a 166 for a series of 371. Hilton's Emily Chapman had a 173, Emily Richards 138, and Elena Carr, as previously reported, 231 for a score of 542. Lanes 11 and 12. Ariana Guerrero 120, Linda Monticelli 143, and Deanna Ikes 90. For Hilton, Bella Ferraro 194, Jennifer Reeser 152, and Taylor Lucas with a nice 226 for a series of 572. That gives Hilton a combined score of 1,114 in game one. And the girls varsity from Brockport, a 724. For the boys, on lanes 13 and 14, Mason Williams with a 170, and Brendan Stevenson with a 168. Jacob Morrill with a 267 for a 605 series score for the boys. For Brockport on lanes 13 and 14, Tyler Kluth, 129. Jaden DeWild, 159. And Caleb Stevens with a solid game at 237 for a series of 525 for the Brockport boys on lanes 13 and 14. Lanes 15 and 16, solid bowling going on down there with Matthew Carmester with a 212 in game one. Kenny Haslip with a 226, and Tommy Parsons with a 231. The low game for Hilton being a 212. That's a pretty amazing stat right there. They had a series of 669. For Brockport's boys on the lanes 15 and 16, Trevor Perker, 161, Jacob Cole, 174, and Nick Pedleski, 186 for a series of 521. Now we've just started. Okay.
You already beat me to the tweet, but there you go.
Hilton Cadets boys won the first game, 1,274 to Brockport's 1,046. Okay, so Hilton up 1-0 in both the boys and the girls. And we'll head on down back to the boys on lanes 15 and 16 to start, and then finish up with the girls at the end of the the end of our second games. And we find ourselves in lanes 15 to 16. The boys are already into game. Before we certain bowlers, Matthew Carmestro through 4 frames has himself 4 strikes in a row. Brendan Stevenson, Kenny Haslip had a split in the first frame and then came back with 3 in a row. And Tommy Parsons just bowled his first 4th. He's got 2 strikes and 2 spares. all marks through 4. Brockport's Nick Podleski. He's got a strike in the first, an open in the second, and a spare in the third. He's got a ball issue here, taking his time. Throwing his first ball in the fourth. Ball seems good to me. He got a strike in the fourth. For Brockport, Trevor Parker just threw his first ball in the 5th. He's had a rough start. He's got 4 opens. Matthew Carmestro. Make that 5 in a row for Carmestro. He's smiling, he's loose. Looks like he's having himself a good time. Trevor Parker had an open frame in the 5th. 3 and 6. He had 9 pins in the 5th. Kenny Haslip, his first ball in the 5th. Coming off 2 strikes. Sorry. Coming off of 3 strikes, and he ends up with a 7. Jacob Cole for Brockport, left-handed, 2-handed delivery. Comes back, hits the pocket a little soft. He got 9 out of the 10. Cole is so far in his game through 5, 9 open, split, open, 9 open, strike, and then now 9 right here. Haslip to pick up the spare, and he got 2 out of the 3, and he has his first open of the game. Jacob Cole, second ball. It'll come back. He's got himself to spare. Tommy Parsons, his first ball in the 5th. 2 strike, 2 spares. 3 strikes, 2 spares. Strike in the 5th. Podleski with his first ball in the 5th, and now he has 2 strikes in a row. Sliding over to lanes 13 and 14. We have Mason Williams. His first ball, he got 9, leaving the 10. Mason Williams and through 3. That's his 3rd frame. A strike, 9 open, and then a 9 spare. For Hilton, that was Anthony Getty, who's now subbed in for Brendan Stevenson, and through 3 frames for Anthony Getty. He had a split in the first with an open, and now 2 strikes in a row. DeWild from Brockport, lefty, 2-handed delivery, finds a pocket, and he gets himself a strike. 2 opens to start, nice to get the strike. Morrill with a strike in the 3rd. Hate to say a tough start. He had a 2.6. Jacob Morrill had a 2.67 in the first game, but he started out this game with a split, an open, a split open, 9 spare, and now a strike. Caleb Stevens with a strike. He's got 3 in a row through 3. We have a sub for Brockport, also on lanes 13 and 14. Ed Billet is now bowling, and he's on the 14th, lane 14. Mason Williams got 9 on his first ball in the 4th. Billet throws it, and I believe he got a 6. Billet's got a split open, a 6-2 open in the 2nd, a spare in the 3rd, and just with a 6 in this first ball in the 4th. Mason Williams to pick up the spare. He's got it. Mason Williams, a strike in the 1st, a spare in the 2nd. No, sorry, an open in the 2nd, and then he goes 9 spare back-to-back in the 3rd and 4th, 47 in the 3rd, and now obviously a spare in the 4th. Freshman Anthony Getty, first ball in the 4th, 2 strikes in a row. Came back solid in the pocket. He looked down like there might have been a problem, but you know what? And they're all the pins are down, and he's got himself 3 in a row, a turkey through 4. Leaving lanes 13 and 14, we're going to head over to lanes 11 and 12 and pick up on the girls. Jennifer Reeser bowling for Hilton, 152 in the first game. Her first ball, she got a 6. Got 1 mark through 3. Call that 2 marks through 4 with a spare. Brockport's got 1 sub into the 2nd game. Audrey Bartholomew is now bowling for Brockport. Hilton's Taylor Lucas just threw her first ball in the 3rd. She got 9. Bella Ferraro with her first ball in the 4th, or in the 5th, 9. We're actually in lanes 4 and 5, or frames 4 and 5. Let's try that again. Taylor Lucas threw her first ball in the 4th with it and got a 9. She's got a 9 spare in the 1st strike, 7 spare in the 3rd, and now her 9. Is she going to catch it? She caught the spare. She's got 4 marks in a row through 4. And Bella Ferraro will finish up her 5th frame, try to pick up the spare. For Brockport, Ariana Guerrero throwing her first ball in the 5th. Kicked out a little right for her. Looks like she may have picked up 5. Ferraro. Ball comes back and she picks up her. Bella Ferraro picks up a spare. Guerrero for Brockport didn't pick up the spare. She ends up with a 7 in the 4th frame. Jennifer Reeser, 2 opens in the first 2 frames, 2 spares in the next 2 frames. Her first ball in the 5th. Ball ends up getting a little bit farther out right than she would like. She ends up with 7. Brockport's Linda Moliselli, and her first ball in the 5th gets 8. Reeser trying to pick up the spare. Crosses over a little bit, and she gets it. Reeser now with 3 marks in a row. And Brockport's Linda Monticelli with a nice start to her third game with 3 marks out of 4 frames, including 3 strikes. Four marks and 5 with 3 strikes. Audrey Bartholomew with a 9 on her first ball. Taylor Lucas first ball in lane 11. Leaving a solid 10 pin. Bartholomew to pick up the spare. Looks like she's got it. Nice ball by Audrey Bartholomew. Taylor Lucas looking to pick up her 10 pin. Ariana Guerrero with 9 on her first ball in the 6th. Bella Ferraro did get a strike in their first ball in the 6th. Jen Reeser got a 9. Guerrero does pick up the spare for Brockport. We'll let Hilton's Reeser finish up, and Brockport's Monticelli, and then we'll slide over to lanes 9 and 10. Reeser picks up the spare. Monticelli coming back, and she leaves the 7 pin. Reeser's got a spare in the 6th. She's got a 70 in the 5th. Monticelli's got 4 marks in the first 5 frames of the second game, and she looks like she's just got the 7 pin to extend that to 5 marks in 6 frames. As Monticelli finishes up, looks like she's got that spare. Nice job by her. Elena Carr in the 6th frame, her first ball. Solid pocket. She gets a strike. Her second strike of the game in the 6th frame. She's got four spares, 2 strikes. Emily Chapman in the 7th frame, leading it off. Came back, looked good, but left the 10 pin. Emily Chapman started out with 2 spares, an open strike, spare, open with a split, and now our first ball in the 7th is a 9. Olivia Hell for Brockport threw her first ball. She got a 3. Emily Chapman, a little bit too far right, put it in the gutter, and has an open. Hell from Brockport. Yeah, she's gonna miss the head pin. Just about pin count there. She got a 6th. 6th in the 7th. She's got a 68 through 7. For Hilton, crossing over was Emily Richards. Emily Richards got a 103 through 6. He had a 9 and an open in the 6th. This is 103. She'll be looking to pick up the spare with an 8 count on the first ball. Indigo Pardon at 116 in the first game. She gets an 8 on her first ball in the 7th. Emily Richards looking to pick up the spare. Oh, she chops it, leaves it in open. That's disappointing. Brockport's Pardon. She had an 8 in the first ball. She had coming off a strike in the 6th. So her second ball in the 7th, looking to pick up a spare. Oh, left it out too far right. And she'll have an open in the 7th, and it was 114 through 8, or through 7. Hilton's Elena Carr will throw for her first ball on the 7th. She's coming off a strike. She had a strike in the 2nd, but she's 4 spares in 5 frames. Not like her. That came in a little high, but came in hot too. She got 2 in a row. 97 in the 5th, but coming off now the strike in the 6th and the 7th. It looks like she may have righted the ship. Kaylee Stevens, first ball for Brockport. In the 7th, she gets a 7. She's coming off a strike in the 6th. Olivia Helf, her first ball in the 8th, and she gets 7 pins. Kaylee Stevens trying to pick up the spare. 7 on the first ball. Tough one to get with a soldier there, but she got it. Similar configuration for Health here. She got 3 pins with a soldier. She's coming straight at it, and she just missed to the left. She'll end up with a 7 in the 8th frame. Emily Chapman with a strike. With a strike in the 8th. Pardon from Brockport, her first ball in the 8th. Again, she escapes a little right on her. Emily Richards, her first ball in the 8th. Doesn't look like it's going to come back hard enough. She missed the head pin and gets a 7. We're going to finish up with Emily Richards from Hilton and Indigo Pardon. And slide over, we got a couple matches going on with the boys in lane 13 and 14. Another high scores going on over there. Pardon did not pick up the spare. She got an 8 in the 8th. Emily Richards looking to pick up the spare. Is the ball going to come back hard enough? It looks like it could. She got the spare. Sliding over to lanes 13 and 14 again, because we have a show being put on over here. Anthony Getty from Hilton going up next. Interesting match for Getty right now. He's coming off of 2 strikes. It's his first ball in the 9th. Oh, I probably jinxed it. He got an 8, but what I was getting at was that through 8 frames, he's got 5 strikes, and the other 3 frames all splits, and he picked up 2 of them. So Anthony Getty having a solid round, solid match. Hilton's or Brockport's Caleb Stevens, who had a 237 in his first game, is having another solid game. Does Getty pick up the spare? Getty's got the spare. He's got a solid game going too. So here's the story. Caleb Stevens has got 2, 4, 6, 8 strikes in 9 frames. The only place we missed, and he hasn't opened, was a split in the 4th. So he's got a 176 through 7 frames. and he had a 231 in the first game, 237. Jacob Morrill, who had a 267 in the first game, he's coming up in the ninth. He's now has 6 strikes in a row. He ended up open in the first, a 9 spare in the second. He's coming off of 6 straight strikes. His first ball crosses over, and again, I am the jinx. Ends up with 8. Mason Williams with his first ball in the 10th with an 8. Jacob Morrill to pick up the spare. Looks good. Still a great game going by Jacob. A 196 in the 8th with a spare in the 9th. Mason Williams with the spare in the 10th. He'll get one more throw. A little bit of a rough game for Mason Williams. He's got a 131 in the 9th. Now with a spare, I think he's crossing over just a little bit too much on the last ball in the 10th. He'll end up with a 148. Brockport's Ed BA's got a nice game going. He's got 2 strikes in a row, 1 in the 9th, his first ball in the 10th. Nice finish for the young man. And he subbed in. He didn't bowl in the first game. Anthony Gaddy, who subbed in also in the second game. He's got a 190 in the 9th. He's now after picking up 8 in the first ball in the 10th. BA with 3 in a row now. Getty looking to get the spare in the 10th. And he chopped it. So Getty will finish up with a 199. And BA threw his third ball in the 10th, coming off of 3 strikes in a row. Now, listen to this game for BA, and I hope I'm saying his name close to being accurately. He ends up with a 150. But 3 out of his last 4 throws were all strikes. 150 with 3 out of your final 4 throws are strikes. Jacob DeWild, we're going to stay right here just till they finish up. DeWild coming off of 3 strikes in a row. The lefty with a 2-handed delivery crosses over and gets an 8. Jacob Morrill into the 10th, coming off of a spare and 6 strikes before that. First ball in the 10th, strike. Looking to finish strong. Morrill could end up with a possible 246. Coming a little high, and it was. He ends up with a split, picked up only 5. DeWild with a shaky 6-pin, but he finishes up with a 192 from Brockport. DeWild with a 192. Morrill finishes up, kicks out 1/2 of that split. and ends up with a 234 game. Solid performance again by Morrell. Jacob Morrell's got a 501 series through 2 games, averaging a 250 game. I'd say he's performing quite well. Possibly the best game of the day so far, and that's saying something. Well, no, he can't get to what Jacob Morrell got, but he's still coming off of 5 strikes in a row with a 206 in the 8th. He could end up with a 266, 1 pin less than the 267 of Jacob Morrell during the first game. He's got to get 2 more in a row. Caleb Stevens, second ball in the 10th. Solid. 2, 4. 7 in a row for Caleb. The boys on lanes 15 and 16 must have dates tonight. They're already in the 3rd frame of their 3rd game. And Caleb Stevens, his final ball in the 2nd game. Oh, he gets 6. What a great game, though. Caleb ends up with a 262 in his 3rd game. Solid performance. With a 499 of over 2 games for Caleb Stevens, whereas Jacob Morrell has a 501. So 499 through 2 games and a 501. Again, 13 and 14. These lanes are hot over here with these 2 bowlers. We're going to head over to lanes 15 and 16 in game 3 just because if I blink, they may be done for the day. Matthew Carmestro coming off of 3 strikes through the first 3 frames with an 8 in the 4th. Trevor Parker from Brockport is up. He's got 2 opens to start with a strike and now a 7 in the 4th. And Matthew Carmestro missed the spare. End up with a 9 in the 4th. He's got 86 through 4 frames. Trevor Parker missed the spare himself, and he's got a 40 through 4 frames.
I'm all set with the girls.
Yep. We can go, yeah. Thanks.
Kenny Hassel from Hilton, his first ball in the 4th. 2 open frames for Kenny, 9 open. And a late fall, and he ends up with a strike. He didn't even see it. But Kenny Hassel, unlike him, he's got 2 opens through 4 frames, 2 strikes, but 2 opens. For Brockport, Jacob Cole, he gets a strike in the 4th. That's 2 in a row for Jacob Cole. Tommy Parsons, first ball in the 4th. Solid strike. Tommy Parsons had a spare in the 1st, but that's 3 strikes in a row for Tommy Parsons. Pedleski from Brockport, his first ball, and he leaves a solid 10. Also, he's got a strike in the 1st, 2 9 spares in a row in the 2nd and 3rd, and another 9 in the 4th.
Brendan Stevenson is back in for Mason Williams.
We got Brendan Stevenson coming back in. He bowled in the first game. He's now subbed in for Mason Williams in the third game. Mason Williams' day is done. Okay, folks, we've got all the scores for the second game. And over on lanes 9 and 10 with the girls, visiting Brockport Blue Devils, Olivia Health with the 92, Indigo Pardon with a 140, Kaylee Stevens with a 174 with a 406, Hilton on lanes 9 and 10, Emily Chapman a 182, Emily Richards 160, and Elena Carr 236. They had a 578. On lanes 10 and 11, Brockport's Arena Guerrero 107, Lita Monticelli 187, Audrey Bartholomew 128. Hilton's Bella Ferraro had a 167, Jennifer Reeser had a 127, and Taylor Lucas had a 206 for a 500 series. On the boys, 13 and 14s, where a lot of the action's happening today. Mason Williams from Hilton, 148. Jacob Merrill, another solid game with a 234, and Anthony Getty, a 199. Brockport's Jaden DeWillow at a 192. Caleb Stevens at 262. Second best game so far today here at Pleasure Lanes. And Edward Billier with a 150, and Billier had 3 strikes out of 4 throws in the final 3 frames. The 2 frames, actually. On lanes 15 and 16, Matthew Carmesser at a 247. He's got a 459 series so far with a 229, 230 average so far today. He's got 1 game left to go. He's having a great day. Kenny Haslip with a 229, coming off a 226 with a 455 series so far. 2 games with a 228 average so far today. Tommy Parsons, 231, 215, a 446, and a 223 average. So I may be talking about lane 13 and 14, but the Hilton boys over in 15 and 16 are kicking it right now. For Brockport, Trevor Parker had a 139. Jacob Cole had a 138 in the second game. And Nick Pedlasky had a 203. Scores for the girls, Hilton Cadets had 1,078 to Brockport's 828. For Hilton boys, they had 1,272 to Brockport's 1,084. Both matches going to Hilton. Well, we're into our third and final game of the day. We'll try to get caught up with what's going on all the action. We'll slide over from the boys and head over to the girls to finish up today. Lanes 15 and 16. Pedleski with his first ball in the 6th. It's his second strike in a row. All marks, 3 spares in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th frame. all 9 spares and 3 strikes in the 1st, 5th, and 6th. And they'll be starting the 7th frame with a leadoff man of Matthew Carmestro and Trevor Parker from Brockport. Trevor Parker first to throw for Brockport in the 7th. He's coming off a spare in the 6th. Crosses over, misses the head pin. He ends up with a 6. Matthew Carmestro coming off 2 strikes in a row and open in the 4th, 3 strikes before that. And now it's 3 strikes after that. He's bookend an open frame in the 4th with 3 strikes on each side of that for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Parker looking to pick up the spare in the 7th. And he still missed the head pin. He got 9 in the 7th frame. Kenny Haslip, first ball in the 7th, coming off a strike, and he's got 2 in a row. Jacob Cole, coming off a split open in the 6th, and he ends up with a strike in the 7th. Solid lefty. Tommy Parsons in the 5th on lane 15. He's got 4 strikes with an open and a spare in the 1st. And he's got 9. Had a strike in the 6th. Nick Podolski coming off of 2 strikes, ends up with an 8 in the 7th frame. Podolski's got a 106 through 6. 106 through 5, my bad. Parsons looking to get the spare in the set to finish up the 7th frame. He's got 4 strikes so far in this game with 1 open, 1 spare. And he's got a 125 in the 6th and a spare in the 7th. Podolski's got, let the graphics go away. Podolski did pick up the spare. He also has a 126th in the 7th, or the 6th with a spare in the 8th. And I got Tommy Parsons a 125 in the 6th with a spare in the 7th. Matthew Carmestro, 3 strikes in a row. And leaves a 7. Parker on his first ball in the 8th. Crosses over a little bit, leaves a 6-10. Matthew Carmestro to get the 7 pin. Oh, throws it way out there right and missed it. Open. Parker getting that 6-10. Solid pickup. He's got a spare in the 8th. We'll finish through the 8th frame with lanes 15 and 16. Probably won't see these guys the rest of the night. Kenny Haslip coming off of 2 strikes. First ball in the 9th, and he's got 3 in a row. Haslip has a 107 in the 6th with 3 strikes in a row in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. Cole from Brockport, left-handed, 2-handed throw, hit it a little high, and leaves a 6. Leaves a 6 pin. He took down 9. Parsons, first ball in the 8th, and he's got himself a strike. Parsons got a 145 through 7 and a strike in the 8th. Cole picks up the spare. A 112 in the 7th, a spare in the 8th. And Nick Podolski will finish off the 8th frame for Brockport. Podolski's got a 126 in the 6th, a spare in the 7th, and this is his first ball in the 8th. Looks solid, and he got a strike. 2 strikes in a row for Pedalewski. We got a great bowling going on over in lanes 15 and 16. Sliding over to lanes 13 and 14, we got Stevenson throwing his first ball in the... Oh, actually, that was his second ball in the 5th. He must have got a gutter ball in the 1st, but he picked up the spare, so it's still a mark. 90 through 4 for Stevenson, and now a spare in the 5th. From Brockport, we have the Caleb Stevens show. He's got 4 in a row to start the 3rd game. Call that 5 in a row. He's got a great night going for Stevens. Getty throwing from Hilton. A little flick of the wrist, and all 10 pins go down. Jacob Morrill, who has had a great day so far, a 267 and a 234. He'll be up to finish up the 5th frame for the boys on lane 13 and 14. He's got a 47 through 3 frames. He's coming off a strike in the 1st, a 9 spare in the 2nd, a split in the 3rd with an open, and then another strike in the 4th. We'll see if he can put something together back to back with his ball in the first ball in the 5th. It looks good, and he's got himself a strike. That's 2 in a row for Morrell. Brendan Stevenson, first ball in the 6th, leaves the 10. BA heads another strike. No, again, he's the bowler that had three strikes on his last 4 throws to finish the 1st game with a 150. Well, he picked up where he left off. He had 3 strikes in a row to start the 3rd game with a spare in the 4th for Ed, and then no, it's not a spare. He had an open in the 4th, and then 2 more. So he's actually got 5 strikes in the first 6 frames of the 3rd game. DeWild throws his first ball. He ends up with a 5 on his first ball. Anthony Getty coming off a strike in this 5th. His first ball in the 6th. He's got 2 in a row. He's got a little flick of the wrist there on his release. DeWild coming across. That's the way you got to get this through. And he got it. Nice. DeWild with a 101 in the 5th and a spare in the 6th. Caleb Stevens, he's got his 5 in a row. He's in the 6th frame. It looks solid, and they all go down. Caleb Stevens with 6 strikes in a row to start out the 3rd game. For you keeping score at home, Caleb Stevens had a 237 and a 262 in the first 2 games. Solid game. And Morrill with his first ball in the 6th came over the top. He got 8. He's coming off with 2 strikes in a row. Brendan Stevenson with a strike in the 8th frame. In the 7th frame. I'm sorry, we're only in the 7th frame. Morrell to pick up the spare. Solid. Morrell with 95 through 5 and a spare in the 6th. Again, Stevenson had a strike in the 7th. Hilton's Getty is up now. He's coming off with 2 strikes. He's got 3 opens so far in this game through 6 frames, but 2 strikes in a row here. He can right the ship nicely right here. And he ends up with 9. Getty to look to pick up his spare. Kenny Hasselbeck in the 10th frame. He in the lanes 15 and 16. They're already in the last frame. Hasselbeck does not pick up the spare. Ends up with a 171 in the 10th. A 171 for the game. Getty misses the spare in lane 13. Tommy Parsons in the 10th frame. Over in lane 16. Got the strike. DeWild in lane 14 ends up with, looks like, it might be an 8-10 split. Tommy Parsons with 2 strikes in a row in the 10th. He had a 185 in the 9th. Nick Pedalewski, 2 strikes in a row in the 8th and 9th, and he starts out the 10th frame with a 6. Tommy Parsons, his final throw of the day. Nice way to go home with 3 strikes in a row. Ends up with a 215. I apologize, folks. We're going to make sure we keep an eye on this. Through 7 frames, Caleb Stevens just threw 7 strikes in a row. VA with his throw in the 8th ends up with a spare after 3 strikes in a row. He's got a 166 through 7. Now with a spare, Brendan Stevenson with an 8. And a split in the 8th frame. We'll slide over to lanes 11 and 12, keeping an eye on what's going on in 13 and 14, especially with Caleb Stevens. Taylor Lucas just picks up a spare. Taylor's got a 104 through 6 and a 9 spare in the 7th. Coach. Oh, we're back to action. Taylor Lucas finishing up the 8th frame. Taylor Lucas with leaving the 7-pin. Bella Ferraro going to bowl in her 9th frame. She's got a 127 in the 8th, coming off an open. Taylor Lucas will look to pick up her spare in the 8th. Update on lanes 13 and 14. Caleb Stevens did get his 8th strike in a row. Bella Ferraro leaving a solid 10 with 9. Ickes from Brockport. Hits the head pin straight on, and she's got herself a split. Jacob Morrell crosses over, gets a 9 in the 9th. Ferraro picks up the spare in her 9th. DeWild gets his spare in the 9th. Morrell finishing up the 9th. Coming off 2 strikes in a row. He had a 144 in the 7th. And now in the 9th frame, looking to pick up his spare. He gets it. Caleb Stevens with 9 strikes in a row. 8 strikes in a row in the 9th frame. 8 strikes in a row in the 9th frame. Oh, hits it high, ends up with a split. Still 8 strikes in a row. It's a great run. Emily Chapman just picked up her spare in the 9th. She's got a 151 in the 8th. Emily Richards in her first ball in the 9th, coming off a strike. A 93 in the 7th. Is it going to come back? It looks like it's coming back, and she's got 2 strikes in a row by Emily Richards. Indigo Pardon from Brockport, coming off a strike in the 8th. Her first ball in the 9th. Crosses over a little bit. She leaves the 6-10. Taylor Lucas picks up her spare in the 9th. Bella Ferraro starts out the 10th. Coming off a spare of the 9th, and she gets herself a split. She's got a 142 in the 9th. Pardon from Brockport. Straight ball. Gets the 6-10. Ferraro giving her best shot to get the split. She picked up the fat half, and her day is done. Bella Ferraro with a 150 in her 3rd game.
You can't even complain. You're gonna be mad too.
Elena Carr with a strike. Elena Carr open in the 1st, all marks after that. 2, 4, 5th strike. Looks like she went a little back and forth with 9 spare strike for a while. She's got a 158 in the 8th with a strike in the 9th. Jen Reeser in her first ball in the 10th with a 9. She's coming off with 2 strikes. Monticelli from Brockport, her first ball in the 10th, and she gets a strike. Guerrero from Brockport had a 135 today. Reeser trying to pick up the spare so she can get another throw in the 10th. It's a 7. Did she cross over too quickly? She missed it. Her day is done. And she ends up
Yeah, Taylor. One more, girl.
Taylor Lucas. First ball and a strike in the 10th. Jen Reeser ended up with a 149. Lena Moselli from Brockport had a 185 in her third game. Finishing strong. Taylor Lucas with her second strike in the 10th. She has a 161 in the 9th. Emily Chapman over on lane 9. 2 strikes in a row in the 10th. She has a 171 in the 9th. Looking for that 200 game. And she got it on the button. 200 on the button for Emily Chapman. Taylor Lucas trying to finish strong with 3 strikes in a row. It looks good. And they all go down. Taylor Lucas with a 191. Audrey Strube, Ashley Strube, I've been mispronouncing her name. I had a different name. I apologize to her. She ended up with a 74 in the last game. I apologize to her that we had that wrong.
Are you okay? Bella, please don't get injured. We don't have backup here.
We're just finished up now in lanes 9 and 10. Emily Richards had a strike in her first ball in the 10th, and she ends up with a 9 spare to finish up with a 172.
Okay, in the country. There's a sign we'll be going for the top 100.
Kaylee Stevens with a strike to start out the 10th. Elena Carr with 9 on her first ball in the 10th. Kaylee with a 166, 174, and now a 168 in the 9th. Her second ball, strike on the first ball, and she got a strike on her second ball. She's going to finish strong. Elena Carr to pick up the spare in the 10th, and she got it. She'll have one more throw. Elena Carr's got a 178 in the 9th. Kaylee Stevens to finish out. Got the head pin on the top, ends up with 7 and a 195. Her best game of the day. Elena Carr to finish out the whole kit and caboodle. Leaving the cell at 10. She got 9, ends up with a 197. Just looking for the last of the games today, and we'll give you a total. We can report out the girls. Emily Chapman Well, let's start with Brockport. 3 games for Brockport. Olivia Health with a 89, 92, 123 with a 304 series. Indigo Pardon, 116, 140, 129, 385 series. Kaylee Stevens, 166, 174, 195, 535 series. Also for the girls at Brockport, Ariana Guerrero, 120, 107, 135, a 362 series. Lena Monticelli, 143, 187, 185, 515 series. Deanna Ikas Bolden with a 90, and Ashley Straub with a 128 and a 74. For the girls for Hilton, Emily Chapman, 173, 182, 200 game, 555 series. Emily Richards, 138, 160, 172, got better with every game, a 470 series. Elena Carr, 231, 236, 197, a 664 series. Bella Ferrero, 194, 167, 150 for a 511 series. Jennifer Reeser, 152, 127, 149, 428 series. And Taylor Lucas, a 226, 205, 191, a 623 series. For the girls, we'll get a total score for you there. For boys, for Hilton boys, in game 3, Mason Williams was subbed in by Brendan Stevens, who with a 207. Jacob Morrell had a 192. In his final game, he had ended up with a series of 267, 234, 192. Anthony Getty bowled his final game 145 with a 199 in this first game. Also for Hilton, Matthew Carmester, a 189 in the third game. Kenny Haslip, 171 in the third game. Tommy Parsons, 215. That means a series of 658 for Matthew Carmestro. Kenny Haslip had a series of 626. Tommy Parsons, a 661 series. Brockport bowlers. Tyler Cluth sat out the last game. Jaden DeWild had a 180 in the final game. He had a 351, 531 series. Caleb Stevens had a 261 in the final game. He had a great day for Brockport with a 760 series. Ed B.A. had a 212, and I apologize if I'm butchering that name, with a 362 in 2 games. He had a nice day himself. But for Brockport's final 3 bowlers, Trevor Parker, 161, 139, 121. Jacob Cole, 174, 138, 158. And Nick Pedaleski, 186, 203, and 212 in the final game. Pedaleski had a series of 601. Final result. Looks like the boys Hilton boys took 2 out of the 3. It looks like, we'll check those numbers, but it looks like the third game, Brockport may have taken it with 11:44 to Hilton's 11:29. But the girls from Hilton girls won all 3 matches. So the Hilton boys end up 2-1. Hilton girls end up 3-0. Again, unofficial results. Who am I? Just the guy with a microphone. But that's a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed the telecast. It was a great night of bowling, a lot of great scores. Hats off to our top bowlers of the day. From the girls' side, Elena Carr had a 664 series, Taylor Lucas a 623. And on the boys' side, Caleb Stevens with a 760 series, Jacob Merrill with a 693 series. awesome bowling, and just even point out lanes 15, 16, all three, the triad of Hilton of Carmestro 558, Haslip 626, Tommy Parsons 661. What a great exhibition of bowling that those three put on also. All right, we hope you enjoyed it. I don't know when we'll be back on to do this again, but we're looking forward to the next time we can bring Section 5 bowling to you. Congratulations to both teams on a well played day and a great time for all. You guys, hopefully you have a great night. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back on to do this again. We're looking forward to the next time we can bring Section 5 bowling to you. Congratulations to both teams on a well played day and a great time for all. You guys, hopefully you have a great night. Thank you.